Oh, there we go. Let me turn that off. 1, 0. All right, thank you all for being here. I just stopped it because the music seemed to time out pretty nicely there at the end. And as always, I love to know where everybody is watching from, because we're going to have a whiz-bang of a show today. Whiz-bang. That's a term I don't use too much here on the show. A whiz-bang of a show. Welcome, everyone, to today's show. I am here to talk to you about, let's do me over, the YoloBox Extreme. And the YoloBox Extreme is YOLO's biggest, most powerful tablet. Came out at the end of last year, this year, and it's received several updates and it's gaining traction. So for those who are interested in taking the plunge, that's what today's show is all about. And as always in my live shows, I love to know where everyone is watching from. Because we're live around the world, and if you are watching on Instagram or Facebook or Twitch or YouTube, let me know where you're watching from. Got a good audience here today, and let's go through and say some hellos. We have video streams in Pflugerville, Texas. Kirk Riley, Big D, is in the house. Suka Joe, hello from sunny San Juan, Puerto Rico. Hello, hello, hello. Crossworks is saying hello from Alabama, and Royal Entertainment is in St. Kitts. Oh, wow. Ayakt Kaching is in India, so thanks for staying up to the crack of dawn in the morning. Let's see, anyone else? All right, so those are the hellos we got so far. And because this is focused specifically on this one topic, I didn't ask for general streaming questions, but I did ask you, what is your favorite YoloBox feature? If you are a YoloBox user or interested in YoloBox, attracted, curious, what is the feature that attracts you to the YoloBox? For those who may not already know, I used to have a relationship with YOLO Live. I did shows for them for about a year, live shows. I don't have an active relationship with YOLO Live at this point. So I am doing this, they provided this for review, and I will be doing a review for Streaming Media Magazine. And no monetary relationship exists between myself and YOLO Live. So doing this, I will give you both the positives and the negatives. I kind of did a show recently. Is it the best one? Yes, no, depends. It's like everything in this industry is like, what's the best camera? Well, the best camera depends upon what you want to do. Is this the best streamer? Well, it depends upon what you want to do. So that's what we got going on. Let's see if we got some. One of them here already. Crosswork says favorite feature is ISO recording, which is available on both the Ultra and the Extreme. Now the Extreme has more inputs. It is designed to do more. It has more processing power, so obviously it can then ISO more. I know you're talking of the Extreme. Can you share any scenarios using the ATEM SDI with the YoloBox Ultra? Sure. You could use the ATEM SDI with any YoloBox. You could use the ATEM SDI. All the YoloBoxes are HDMI, and they enable you basically souped up. Let me rephrase that. The YoloBoxes are HDMI Android tablets that enable you to bring in wired cameras and wireless in certain cases, and do complete production from camera acquisition to switching to titles, overlays, sports scoreboards, video playback, other inputs, all the way to recording and export for streaming, all in one tablet. That's what the YoloBox delivers. So I call these all-in-one tablets. They're all-in-one production studios in a tablet. Before YoloBox, you could do production on like an iPad or a tablet, but you couldn't get HDMI cameras into it. There was no physical way to do that. Now, over the course of the 5-7 years that YOLO has been around, the iPad has moved to USB-C. They've updated the software, and now you can bring in 3 UVC cameras, or 3 or 4, depending upon the model you have. And by UVC, where did I do with those? Oh, by UVC, that means you could use a USB capture dongle and bring it in via USB. The quality of that is not going to be the same as bringing in HDMI directly, which is and has always been the appeal of the YoloBox, is the fact that it has physical inputs right here. No dongles, no converters. It's just plug it in, it shows up. There it is. That's the magic of these things. And if you're trying to use an ATEM SDI and you have all SDI cameras, then taking the output of your ATEM and converting it to HDMI and then bringing it into a YoloBox is where you get the ability to switch using the hardware control surface and everything that that gives you, especially if you're using Blackmagic cameras. You have all of that capability, and then you could use that for the camera switching, but then do everything else in the YoloBox. So could I share any scenarios? Well, I am using an ATEM right now. So if I go to, let me take that title off. If I go to a side-by-side, go away, thank you. If I go to a side-by-side, what you see over here is coming out of an ATEM. So that this way, my switcher just has a side-by-side, and then I could go to my overhead camera. So I'm using the ATEM to switch what's over there. And then I use my Director Mini to switch the show and put the graphic at the bottom and do the green screen replacement. That's what I'm using here. And that, in that box over there, let's just say you wanted to see the PC. There's the PC and my YouTube channel. So that's what I'm using to switch over there. And that's what using an ATEM can do in conjunction with the YoloBox. So if you're new to the channel, if you're watching me on Facebook, Twitch, or Instagram, then know that the StreamTek channel on YouTube is where you find all the cool stuff, all of it, and including videos, hundreds of videos, live shows. Clicking in the wrong place. Live shows you can see here. There's different playlists and all kinds of stuff, and I even make posts from time to time about what's coming up. So this was a setup for last week's show. So yeah, that's where everything is, and you can see. Oh my goodness, look at that! I'm live right now, and that's where you can find everything. Also, I write for Streaming Media Magazine. So if you're into the streaming business, you can go to streamingmedia.com and sign up for newsletters there. They're free. And see different reviews and everything. And then if you want to reach out to me, if you're looking for consulting, which I do, help you pick the right thing, knowing exactly what your specific needs are, you can go to the contact us page right there at streamtek.us. So that is the blurb, and that is a demonstration of side-by-side. ISO recording. This is the Ultra Extreme Support USB wireless mouse and keyboard combo. If you have a wireless mouse and keyboard combo and you're using a little USB dongle, yes, because it still appears as wired to the YoloBox. If you are trying to do Bluetooth, I've never tried it. So I can't answer that question. And again, if I don't know something, I'm not gonna, this is not a puff piece for YoloBox. This is a review. This is a look at it. It's also not this is not a detailed how-to video. I'm not gonna go through and demonstrate every capability and every variation of every title and everything. So this is just an overview of the different features that are available and showing you some of the positives and some of the negatives. But another question, where do you get your intro music? That was provided by Facebook. Facebook has a creators area where you can download pre-cleared music. So that's where that music came from. And interestingly enough, Facebook then several months later hit me with copyright claims for using the music that Facebook provided. Facebook is like the worst for streaming. Mr. Simpson says hello from Southeast Asia. Thank you very much. Love the YoloBox Extreme. Will YOLO Live take my YoloBox Pro as a trade-in? They don't have a trade-in program. If a reseller might, but I doubt it. Kent says hello from Madison, Ohio. Good to see you. Hey, J Films Tech is in Atlantic City, and I'm going to give a shout out to him. He's one of the beta testers of the Extreme, and he has just hammered this thing. So kudos to him and all of the beta team for just really putting these devices through their paces and pushing it forward quickly to get things done. Crosswork says another favorite is graphic overlays and being able to do multi-view layouts. I agree. How does the OC GoStream Duet 8 compare to the YoloBox Extreme? That is a really big question because they're different things. The Duet 8 does not do internal graphics. The Duet 8 does not have an internal scoreboard. The Duet 8 does not have remote guests. The Duet 8 does not have, just going on and on and on. They're very different tools. Not very different. They both handle 8 inputs. They both let you switch 8 inputs. One is a software tablet. The other one, the Duet 8 does not do internal multicasting. So there's a lot that, how do they compare? What are you looking for? Figure out those things that are important to you, and then look at the devices and say, okay, I need this, this, and this, and only the Duet provides this, this, and this. So that's the thing I'm going to get. That's what I think about that. Hello from Long Island, New York. Well, welcome, William. Thank you for being here. So that goes through our hellos and early questions. So again, at any time, throw a question in. I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly because there's a lot to cover. It's got 8 inputs. So I already have it unboxed. There we go. I already have it unboxed, and here you can see that it is a big tablet. If you used the Pro, previously, it is a huge, it's a big jump. The Pro even had bigger, you can't really see it. The Pro had bigger bezels on the sides. This has smaller bezels, so it's a much bigger, heavier tablet. If you were using something on top of your camera, the Pro is kind of like at the top end of it, I think. The Extreme is so big and so heavy that I would not recommend putting it on top of your camera. I would instead say you're gonna just picking it up. Instead, I'm going to say this is something you would maybe sling. You would put it in a case and hang it from the bottom of the tripod, or you rest it on a table, because once you start hooking all these cables into this device, there's a lot going on, and there's a headphone jack on the bottom. So there's one more than all of this. So let's quickly go through this. Let's go to my side camera here. Right over here, you have your HDMI inputs, and you have 1 through 8 and 2 HDMI outputs. Down here at the bottom, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these are labeled 4K, and they will also do HD. 3 of these are labeled HD, and they are not 4K. So it's not an 8-input 4K switcher. Let me clarify that. It's not 8 4K inputs. It's 8 inputs. It can do 4K, just not from all 8 inputs. So, and what the advantage that the 4K gives you is, yes, you can actually take in, cut, record, and stream in 4K. It's one of the few tablets can do that. The Ultra can do that too. But it's not going to do that from all of the inputs. it will also do all of that in HD or 720p, you know. So what I like to say is the fact that it's built for 4K gives you added capability in HD, because it's got the processing power to handle 4K in terms of pictures and background and processing and green screen and all that stuff and ISO recording. But at the same time, there are still going to be limitations. And as we go through this, you will see that it will tell you they can only do so much. You're still dealing with mobile chips. This is not a desktop computer. You cannot just throw a bigger graphics card in here. You cannot add more RAM. You cannot upgrade the processor. You cannot do any of that. And in fact, it doesn't have any internal recording at all. You have to add an SD card or a USB stick for your source media or recording. By itself, it can, you know, it says it can record, but you have to provide the media. The internal media that's in here is just for the operating system and the app, not for you. So no new questions coming in. We're going to continue along. So we got those 8 inputs. Let's continue with the side by side and over here. So we have the, let's see if I can get the tilt correct here. We have an Ethernet connection, which is also very, very critical, because your most reliable connection is going to be a wired connection. Wireless is great. Yay, wireless is, you know, but wireless can also be directly interfered with by other wireless in the area. So if somebody's going, if you're at an event and there are Teradek or Hollyland wireless video transmitters and receivers, they're on the same frequencies as Wi-Fi, and they are just going to terminate anything on certain channels. And if you try to use the Wi-Fi, it's got Wi-Fi antennas. This one has external Wi-Fi antennas, or you could just use the built-in Wi-Fi. And you're in a competitive area, that Wi-Fi signal is going to be compromised. So I always recommend going on a wire whenever you can. And next up, we got 2 USBs. These can be used for additional cameras. You know, like if you wanted to have another HDMI input, or like we were just talking about, using an external switcher that is SDI. You can use an SDI. This is a Magewell SDI to USB converter. So you can take in SDI and bring it in as a USB source. So those are available as well. So you got 2 of those. You've got your mic and line input. Those are 2 different jacks, although people have found that they're kind of at the same level. So it's not, you know, I usually just go into the line input so that I don't overmodulate it, and then I adjust from there. You have 1 type C connection, which can be used for a dongle, a dock, another input, a USB-C webcam, whatever you want. And then you have another USB-C that has a little battery icon that is just power. Nothing else. You cannot connect anything else. Well, you could, but it's not going to work. That is your power input. And on the bottom of the unit here, let's see if I can get that arranged. It tells you, not that you're going to be able to see it, it tells you right here, input 9 volt, 12 volt, 15 volt, 3 amps. This thing takes 45 watts. Now, the one I have came with an adapter. Let me hold it over here. I labeled it Extreme. Unfortunately, it's on manual. And the output of this is 45 watts. And it comes with USB. There it is. I labeled it right there. It's 45 watts. And it came with a thicker USB cable that is just for power. When you're trying to shove 45 watts down USB cables, you don't want a thin cable. You need a thicker cable to carry the power that this big thing is going to try and suck from the power adapter. That said, now I'm going to plug it in. All right. So that goes on top. Actually, let me leave it off for a second. So we have the antennas. Continue along, we have these antennas. They plug into the side here. They are included in the device. If you're not using them, they've got this little antenna cap, or if you're like me, it says Anthony. Anthony right there. And now that I've closed it, I can't get it open. So those are Anthony caps. Just kidding. Very interesting though that these are like faceted. So you can't fold it down for transport and then just flip it up. It stops. So you have to unplug it and then turn it to the angle that you want it, plug it back in, but then you can't fold it down. It'll just stop and it can't go back that way. I don't really understand what the idea was with this. I don't understand that so much, but that's what they are. So that's that antenna. Along the bottom, get a big power button. One 1/4-20 threaded hole. Your SIM slot, because it does internal cellular, again, which most physical hardware switches don't do. You have an SD card slot for your media and your headphone jack. So while we're talking media, I am going to stick in my SD card right there. So that's right there. And like I says, if you were also going to use USB for your media, that's where you would stick it in up here. Oh my God, I got it right the first time. Good thing I caught that on video, because that never happens. And so that's what you would do. And I have done that. I've just used USB sticks. And it's very interesting that these are vertical, I guess you could call them. On the Pro and the other models, they're actually horizontal. So I got myself a little right angle connector, which is right here on the table. I got a little right angle connector so that I could just have these like this and then stick in my USB stick, record, take it out, stick it in, take it, make it really easy to access the media. And obviously this doesn't work on this one because it goes that way. Whichever. Hey, we got somebody. Maybe the Wi-Fi antenna can be used as a stand. That's coming in from viewers on Instagram from Germany. Can the antennas be used as a stand? Not that I would recommend this. I don't think I would really recommend this, but we're going to give it a try. Yes. Yes, these actually can be used as a stand. You know, that's like a legit reason, although I really wouldn't want to have the weight of this resting on the tiny SMA connectors in there. So what I have done, and which you may have noticed already, is I have an old video from a couple years ago talking about using these little phone stands. They just stick on and they open up, and when you close down, they don't take up much extra space, but they do allow me, they've got some friction. And then if I put them so that the weight is straight down, there. Now I've got it at an angle, and like this. I recommended to them, just put a little swing out foot here that could come out and do what this or this does, just have it swing out. As I said, I don't work for YOLO. They don't listen to me. That's just the way it is. Dahar says, Dana says, hi from India. Hello to you. Sorry, I'll get there. Things are moving as I'm trying to click on them. Reaction YouTube says, hello from Chicago. And Ningus Christos says, how does the encoder perform compared to other hardware encoders? I can't answer that, just going to be honest, because I don't have the time it would take to do an in-depth comparison of several different hardware encoders at different data rates using variable bit compression, constant bit rate, constant quality rate with different types of sources, talking heads, sports, and all different things, and then compare all of them in a quantitative, qualitative way. Yeah, I don't have weeks to do that. And to what end? I'm doing this show at about 4 megabits. It looks good. Hello from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Bringing in South America. Thank you very much for being here. And one more comment came in. Video content company. Can you compare this with the new BirdDog Maki Studio? That is an iPad-based tablet. So there's no physical, well, there are USB, as I mentioned before, physical inputs, but only over UVC, USB inputs. And it's primarily NDI based. This is an Android tablet that is primarily physical connector based. So that one is going to be easier to deploy if you are all NDI based. You can do NDI with this, but it maxes out at 4 to 5 of HX, whereas that with an M1, M2, M3, M4, depending upon the model you get, you know, you're going to be able to handle, I think they said 9 inputs. So 9 NDI sources versus 4 to 5. So that's how they would compare. Is there any 4K quality difference between the Ultra and Extreme? Very good question. I like this question. I actually don't know. I would think that it is likely the same chip. I don't have data. Like I said, I don't work for YOLO. I don't have inside engineering information. So I don't know what the actual chips are inside the 2 different units. And if they are the same chip, or if this one just has 2 of them, or this one has a higher quality, a higher level chip than the one that's in the Ultra, the encoding should be the same if the same content at the same data rate is used. Is it compatible with a touchscreen monitor? I think so. I don't know. I don't have one to test. Yep. Didn't mean to put that one up there. All right. And we've got a hello from Austria. Thank you very much for being here. We've got a very good show. We're going to continue on. So we haven't even turned this on yet, and a half hour has passed. So that is the overview of all the different ports. There's nothing on the side, so you can't mount it vertically, and you can't mount it vertically that way. And I think that also goes to the fact that at no point has the Ultra been marketed as a vertical. I'm sorry, the Extreme. And at no point has the Extreme been marketed. Of course, I'm going to get a call in the office while I'm doing the show. At no point has the Extreme been marketed as a vertical production platform. The Ultra has always shown horizontal, vertical, and just monitor mode. The Extreme has not. So it is not designed with 8 inputs. You're really not going to try to switch 8 inputs into a TikTok. You will, however, definitely have times when you want to switch 8 inputs into a horizontal live production on YouTube. So this is a horizontal production tool from the ground up. And I think at this point, we should turn it on. 2, 3, go. I hope that did it. If not, push it again. Boom, 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 boom. We'll try again. There we go. Maybe that'll help. Maybe the battery died. Hope not. I did use this just last week for a multi-camera live show at the Texas Production Expo in Dallas, Texas, or Grapevine. And I chose this for several specific reasons over other tools. Key reasons I chose this was, is it booting or not booting? Is this ignoring me? Okay. Yeah, I know it's charged. 2. Okay, maybe it's the 6-second button press. I wanted to handle viewer comments, and this provides a big area for seeing the viewer comments to bring them on the screen. Yay. I could have done bonding. I didn't, but bonding is available in this device. NDI with 5 inputs, that was a key feature. And being able to record in it, and the flexibility of both wired and wireless, several things. So as you can see, I'm going to dim it down just a little more so it doesn't totally blow out the monitor. Live streaming, horizontal, and monitor mode. As opposed to the Ultra, which gives you 3 choices, vertical being the middle choice. That is not an option here. So if you're looking at the Extreme, you're looking at horizontal production. That is what it does. And like everything else, you've got a whole new, very Apple looking interface here. I'm signed in. You could add platforms. This is where you add the different platforms that you want to go to, your different connections. You can have Wi-Fi, Ethernet, cellular, and like I says, those USB ports. If you had a cellular dongle like this, you could just put your SIM card in and see, I got it wrong the first time. So then all of a sudden now you're going to have 2 cellular connections plus Ethernet. Plus you can connect to Wi-Fi in the area and you can bond all of those. There's bonding available as a paid option in every YoloBox. So that is something that is available if you wanted to do it. Hotspot and tethering is something you can do. So if you want to bring in, oh wow, look at that. That's cool. I actually get the setup screen for this. I have a video on setting up your ZTE, but having it actually show up, this is really nice. So I don't have a SIM card in here. So there's no service. But if I did have limited service, really? It's still red on the side. It goes a different color when it's good. And this way you can actually administer your USB stick and the settings. So you can go into the settings and go into your connection mode, and you can come back out and come back out because it's a touchscreen. You can go into your network selection, 4G only, and things like that. That's really cool. So I'm going to exit that. I didn't know that. Cool. Bluetooth. It has a built-in network speed test in here. So let's just say I'm going to plug in my Ethernet now. So I have Ethernet here on the table. We're going to plug that in. That's going to be our second cable plugged into here. You can see it lights up. I like lights. Being able to see, it sees the cable. It is getting data. There's little blinky lights. Little blinky lights. Very cool. So you can go in the Ethernet. It's going to come up with numbers. Yay. And then if I wanted to hotspot and tether, I could turn that on to switch the Wi-Fi network. Please disconnect the Ethernet. It's going to prioritize the wire. And it's like, but I was connected to wireless. Yeah, but you plugged in a wire. It's going to prioritize that. And I think that's a good thing because, as I've said in the beginning, using a wire is going to be the most reliable thing you're going to have a connection into here. And if you do have a wireless access point that you are leveraging, like when I did my show, I brought my Asus ROG gaming router to do wireless to a bunch of tail airs. For the the best reliable wireless I could get, even though it didn't have to go far, I expected it might be combat against other wireless transmitters, and also because that router is designed to handle 2.5 gigabits of data throughput, so it should be able to handle a couple NDI sources. And then when it comes into here, that means it's not taking it in and then retransmitting it to get to my YoloBox. It's just taking it in from the cameras and then it comes out on the wire. You're reducing the load on the wireless transmitters on the Wi-Fi by half. So that's why going on a wire, I feel, is the best idea. You can see about the device, what version you're on, language setting English, I think it's Chinese and Japanese. Date and time you can set to your, I don't know why it says my time zone is Greenwich Mean Time. It's not. Keyboard settings, on-screen keyboard, you can change that. Display and brightness, I've got it down very much, and then you can have it automatically lock. Recordings, you could look at the media on your card. I have very little on the card because I'm trying to keep it 29 gigabytes open. Frequently asked questions, contact us, upload the logs. If you do have something crash or whatever, you can upload logs and help them debug this. And restore factory settings, sometimes very useful when things just don't seem to be going right and it seems to always have a problem. Restoring factory settings wipes whatever prefs and cache and all that stuff that the app may have stored up and may have gone corrupted. It happens in PCs and Macs and everything. Sometimes you just got to wipe the cache clear. That's how you do it right there. As I go on, I should hook up another HDMI cable. Let's think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. This we're going to hook up to our HDMI out 1. Now, we're going to go into live streaming. Do I have something opened? I'm going to create a new live streaming. I'm not going to go into monitor mode because monitor mode is basically the same as streaming mode, but without certain streaming capabilities. Like remote guests is not available in monitor mode, which is designed for recording. You can do remote guests in streaming mode because it assumes you have access to the internet, but you don't have to stream. You can still record. So monitor mode just removes those options from being there just for the sake of convenience, but you can use streaming mode as monitor mode and also get the advantages of having those other capabilities. So I'm going to say this is my test, and that's all I'm going to say. Create, you can put in a logo. Actually, I should go back into that. Can I? Let me delete that. As you can see here, you've on the YoloBox, I should just cover this a little bit. If you pay for YoloCast, which is YoloLive's content delivery network, you can have a whole other set of things that you can manage online. You can have hosting online. You have other capabilities that you can utilize in terms of charging, registering, restricting access and things like that. That is what you can do with YoloCast. Also very useful in terms of music because it is a separate content delivery network. Standard events is events that you can create here or you can create them online on your account. I'm not going to get into that. And if you create an event, you can see my Texas Production Expo right here. All of that, I can come up to this event and I can duplicate this event. And I will duplicate and I'll create, let's do this one and we'll just call this StreamTek Live 2. Done. You can add a graphic that'll be automatically pushed to, let's pick that one. Done. That'll be automatically pushed when you create this. You can create this up to a week in advance. It only goes up to 1 week here. So we're going to say it's going to happen on Friday at 12:12 p.m. Okay, so that's noon. And it's got a description in there. And then we say create. All this means is in doing this demo, I'm going to have to go and clean stuff up after the demo. So there's my event with my logo and everything. And now we're going to go and say, is it scheduled? Scheduled. Actually, let me go live here. Start early. That's going to come back. I'm doing something off to the side that's going to come back into play later. So you can see, because I carried forward the event, I duplicated the event. It's trying to connect to all the videos that I had loaded. It's trying to connect to the cameras I had loaded. It's also going to have the graphics that I had created. That's how you carry them forward. So one of the key things is if you're doing a show or if you're doing soccer games or kids baseball and then kids soccer or something like that, baseball, then soccer, then baseball, then soccer, and you're going back and forth, you can have different shows saved and then you just duplicate that, create a new date and time, and then the content you created to be part of that show comes with it. And you don't have to build each show new from scratch each time. And this is a very handy feature that you can have these shows, you just duplicate them, bring them forward, schedule them, and then run the show. After that show is done and you stop streaming, it goes into a past event. You can't open that again. You can't run that event again. That's why it has that duplicate event. Now, as you can see, when I was going into this, yes, I'm gonna exit this streaming event and I'm gonna come out here. They will add up. This doesn't scroll, but there will be more down there to the bottom as you start going. You don't have to keep the old ones. They're not really going to help you unless you've got like 5 or 7 different shows and you just keep reduplicating them as you go ahead. Let's just say you opened a little studio and you've got 10 clients and they each have their own little podcast. You can have all 10 of those shows and you just keep duplicating them forward. So let's go back into that event. First thing I'm going to do to make this easier for you is I'm going to come into my HDMI out settings, which is right here, and I have program out and mirror out. So I don't actually know which one that is. Let's go over here and look. It's not there. Let me change that 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's black because that's program out. Okay, good. So we are going to change that. It's actually correct. So that is showing you the program out. I'm going to change it to mirror out. There you go. Now you can see over here that top one is HDMI output 1, and the bottom one is HDMI output 2, which I'm going to set to program out. Now you can see other options here. I can have program out. I can have a multi-view. So if you have another director who's calling the shots or something like that, and they just want to see all the different sources, you can have that. They have a custom out. So you can pick one source to send out to one of the outputs, or you can have mirror out, which is useful for me in terms of, let me show you the screen that I'm working with. So that's what I have right here, 1080p, 1920 by 1080. That is, I'm sending you the mirror out. If you're doing multi-view out, let me click on this gear icon. You can see you have different, just show all these different sources, and each one you can pick what the different source is. Do you want borders are on, borders are off? You want the source name on, source name off, audio meters on or off, and then you can have just 4, 3, and a few more, a bunch of things, and program really big, preview and program, or program and 2 sources, or just all these. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options. I would probably stick with something like that. Done. But I'm not going to use the multi-view out for this. I am just going to use the mirror out so you can see what I'm doing on the screen more clearly as I select things. So let me close that. We have, hello from Austria. I think I got you. Mike Sabatini says, hi from LaSalle, Illinois. Have you tested the reliability of the hotspot on the Director One for using two-tail air with NDI? I have not. So we're going to continue along here. Again, the main gear icon on the top right, you have your classic mode default and something else they've introduced with the Extreme. Because of the bigger screen, you have a director mode. So now you can see preview and program, and I should just load some videos here because this one and this one and that one. Or do that one. Done. So I'm also going to delete videos from the show. Done. And you can see how they shuffle. And this ordering that you're seeing happen, the videos I added are at the end. I'm going to delete the USB-C camera. I'm going to delete HDMI 8. Actually, I'm just going to delete all these right now because I don't have anything connected. Those cameras are all in the cases right now. I kind of wish you could delete a bunch of things. But then again, if you were creating a show from scratch, you wouldn't have duplicated. But I wanted to demonstrate to you the value of duplicating an old show to carry forward all of your media. Now, these video clips are not on this SD card, so it was not able to just load them in. So now you can see over here on the left, I've got my preview. It's not in program. Program is still black. So I have to hit that little button in the middle. Let me do this. You have to hit this little button right here. This is preview to program. And I hit that and it takes it over. And then I can put something else in preview. You can see right here, it's got a back and forth icon. So if I hit that button, it'll swap them. You have an A/B switch. So if you have a talk show and you have your host and your guest and they're having a conversation back and forth, you can just keep hitting that button to swap those things back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you wanted to fade, however, you have to click the little window icon, then select fade, then close the little icon, and then you can fade. I have been recommending just adding a second button since you've got all this room here and have cut and auto, like most video mixers have, cut and auto. But that has not happened. However, they do have a fade to black button, which I never use in a live stream. I just end the live stream. I don't have to fade to black. So now if I want to go back to cutting, because this is still set to fade, I have to go into the menu, I have to select cut, and then I have to want to close that, and then I can cut again. Very laborious, but thankfully YOLO is pretty responsive with regards to listening to end users, and when enough end users can say, you got to fix this, hopefully YOLO can sit there and say, okay, we're going to separate this into two buttons, one that says cut, and it always cuts, and one that says auto, and then the auto would allow you to pick a different transition by, I guess, holding the button. Coming across the top over here, you've got stereo audio meters, which I should have. Let me go into my audio here, and I've got, there we go, I've got video playing, so let me turn that channel on. So now you've got audio meters playing. This still says preview. You've got instant replay built into the unit. This is your record. It's a button, and will also show if I am recording. Do you want to start the recording? Yes, I'll get into select SD card or whatever to, I didn't get to that menu yet. You have your go live button, your settings for your streaming, and then there's your program window. So let us go back into the gear icon, turn director mode off, because it's a little difficult to show you this menu when it's so small. There you go. So now, next one down, show CPU usage. You can see up there in the corner, they've added this CPU usage indicator on. It's always on, well, if you have it set. And this is really handy because it's an Android tablet. And even on my computers, on my desktop computers, when I'm using vMix and other tools, it is very important to me to be able to know where am I in the processor usage, how much of the video card am I using, because I find Windows will time to time do something. It'll do a background check. I don't know what it does, but I will see the CPU usage go up 20% whenever it wants. So I need to make sure that I'm at 80% or lower on the CPU usage of the PC, so that when the Windows or the PC decides to do this other housekeeping task in the middle of my show, it doesn't go up to 100% and then I start dropping frames. Same thing is going to happen here. Knowledge is power. So if you're doing a bunch of things and you see this thing go up to 60, 80, 90%, you're going to realize you're going to need to back some stuff off because you're pushing it too hard. You know, you can exceed the capability of anything. Everything breaks. There's a limit to everything, but knowing is really, really important. So next up is the streaming mode. Right here, we're going to talk about the streaming mode. It comes up with this weird, it's got an arrow like it's going to go somewhere else, but it doesn't. It comes up with a little pop-up, so it's inconsistent in the interface right here. You can use YoloLive's multi-streaming service or direct single platform. So if you want to go direct to YouTube, you can go direct to YouTube. If you want to multicast, you can use YoloLive's multi-streaming service, and that's included with every single YoloBox since the beginning. So you can send one stream at 5 megabits to 3 destinations, and it's included. That saves you from having to have 15 megabits for 3 destinations. So people were asking, well, what's the difference between this and a duet? If you want to send 2 streams from the duet, that's going to be 10 megabits. If you want to send 3 streams from here, it's only going to be 5. So that's one of the key differences, is that it includes a multi-streaming service. You don't have to use it. You can send to one output and use, you know, Vimeo or something else for multicasting, or as your content delivery network. You can do it that way, or you can use the multi-streaming service. It'll give you 3 outputs. If you need more, then you can sign up for YoloCast. Close that. Streaming encoding. There's multiple encoders in this unit. So you have streaming encoding, and then you have recording, which is separate. So you can come into here. I'm trying to touch it. It's ignoring me. Okay, so I'm touching the top there. Let's go back. Did it finally open? Yeah, encoding settings. So at the top, streaming encoding live, NDI out, and SRT out. So I'm doing 1080, 30 at 4 megabits, H.264, constant bit rate. So over here, you can change the resolution all the way up 2K, 4K, 720p. You can change your frame rate up to 60 frames per second. Now, Can you do 4K at 60? Yes, you can. It's going to increase, as you saw, the bit rate changed automatically. It says you're probably going to want 24 megabits a second there. And then if I come over here and go back down to 1080 at 60, it says 6 megabits. If I say 30, it goes down to 4 megabits. Obviously, these are suggestions. You can drag this slider any, wherever you want. And of course, there's even more settings. So you can come over here and also change from H.264 to H.265 HEVC, which gives you roughly 40% better or 40% less data. So you could change the HEVC at 3, 2.5 is going to give you the same quality as H.264 at 4 megabits. So this is especially important if you're using cellular, so you're transmitting less data, which is more reliable to get through. And then you can choose constant bit rate, constant quality, or variable bit rate. 3 different ways to encode your stream. And then down here is your record encoding. So this is for your record and your replay. So I can stream at 1080p right here, but I can record internally at 4K because you have 2 different encoders. That's the key difference. Now, there's notes in this thing all over the place. Once the streaming starts, you can't adjust it while you're still recording. You can't say, oh wow, I'm if I'm streaming at 4K, oh no, it doesn't seem to be getting through. Can I just adjust this slider while I'm streaming? No, you can't do that. So you'd have to pause for a moment, come in here, adjust the slider, and start it up again before YouTube or whatever content delivery network closed down the stream. So that is the record setting. Video source switch. So you can click the switch or double click the switch. I just click the switch so that if I'm over here, I can just tap, tap, tap. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm just tapping the screen once. Or you can double tap so that if your hand just accidentally brushes the screen, you're not accidentally switching. Director mode is there again as well. Local video settings. It's giving you a summary, but resume the first frame and pause when switching. So this video, which is a countdown, when I switch to this one, you can see it resets to 15 minutes and pauses. Whereas if I go over here just to pause, like if I want to talk about a video, if I switch back to this one and it counts down and I switch away, it's going to stay at 14:57. It's going to, and this one stayed where it was too. It's paused, and I come back over there. This one continues, and when I come back to this one, it's going to be almost at the end, which is where it was when I left it. So that means it's just pausing, and then you can have it stop at the last frame, which is what it just did. It's at the last frame, so it just stopped, or you could have it loop, which is really handy for videos like this that go in the background, and boop. Okay, don't loop, fine. Resume the first frame and pause. I like to have that. Let's go back over here, come back up there, and have it reload this one, and we'll see if it's going to loop while I'm doing something else. So your HDMI 1, 2, and 3 settings. These are those 3 HDs that I told you about. Let's take a look at this, almost there. I have them set to 60 frames per second. When you plug something in, and there it goes. So you see, I just had to exit it from how it was loaded before, come back in, and it just looped automatically. So I'm going to take a cable. I'm going to plug it into input 1, and it comes up with an alert. Let's go back to here. Detected a signal. This port requires manual input for frame rate selection. So you know what your HD input is, but for inputs 1, 2, and 3, you're going to need to tell it what it is. It's not going to automatically know that 60, 50, or 30 frames per second. It's going to assume, 1, 2, and 3 only supports 1080, not 4K. And if you're going to, when you're connecting fewer devices, use 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which it uses a different chip that automatically detects what you're feeding it. But if you needed these, they're here. So I can say, yes, this is coming in from a laptop. It's 1080p, 60, and that's it. We come over here and we say done. Now, as you can see, I've got this input. It's a little distorted because the player is all messed up. I have to look into that and see what's going on, but disregard that. It's a source. Continuing down here, we've got HDMI out, which we covered in the very beginning, where we got program and our mirror outputs. As you can see at the top, one thing I didn't talk about before is you can actually manually determine the frame rate of your output, so that if you have a monitor that's waiting to be told what the source is, this will tell it. I am 50 frames a second. Boom. I am 60 frames a second. Boom. We're gonna come out of that. Next up is USB-C out, which is right here. USB-C out, you can turn that on, and that's going to start the encoding. That encoding doesn't happen until you turn it on because it takes processing power to encode the video for a UVC output to go into another computer. And then you can have it flip horizontal, but most everything you're going to feed it into also has flip horizontal, so you probably don't need to do that here. Next one up, NDI out. Speak a little bit about NDI. NDI is a, boy, it's a busy day here in the office. NDI is a standard created by NewTek. NewTek was purchased by Vizert, so now it's owned by Vizert, and a licensing fee needs to be paid to them for using the NDI protocol. NDI puts video and now audio on a local area network and can also shoot it across the internet. NDI will not be available by default because it's an option that you pay for. If you do pay for the option, then NDI is activated on this device. If you sell this device, that license goes with it. If you want to use a different device, you can't take it off of this device and put it on that device. It's once you turn it on in this Extreme, in this unit, it stays with this unit. When you activate it, all of the NDI features are activated in this device, both output and input. So it's either on or it's off. You either paid for it or you didn't. If you are all completely wired and you don't need NDI, then you don't need to pay for it. It's an option that other people are going to want, but you're not forced to pay for it to be included. Some people don't like, well, why are they nickel and diming me for NDI? I already paid so much money, because it goes to, you know, I would like to say the NDI organization, but it's not a separate organization. It's still owned by Vizert. SD card management. So you can see this is how much space I got in there. Portable storage management. I got nothing connected. Mobile web control. So this is where you can use a tablet or another surface, which I happen to have one connected here, to enter, no, there we go. So we just put in the IP address of my tablet, 192.168.4.190. So that's going to be, I don't know where that is. Here? Here. No. There it is. Come over here. 192, 168, 4, what is it? 190. Go. That should work, unless I'm on the wrong wireless. Should be in airport mode. Yeah, that's the right one. One 192.168.4.190. 192.168.4.190. No, not www. I did not type in. Just give me the cursor. Sometimes I wish Apple would stop trying to help me and just do what I told it to do. Go. Do I have to type in HTTP? Okay, done. So that's not connecting, and I don't know why. And then there's the YOLO deck. Let's go back to this. That's not connecting. I don't know why. We have the YOLO deck. The YOLO deck is YoloBox's own StreamTek. I had a StreamTek here. It's their own StreamTek. So very, very similar. With little screens behind the buttons and USB. Little difference is this one, you can unplug the USB from the YOLO deck. It's behind it, not underneath it. It uses a lightweight cable, not a very heavy-duty USB-C cable. And you plug it in to the USB-A port of the YoloBox. These work on the Ultra, the Extreme, and I don't think the Pro yet. We keep waiting. And it will automatically populate, let's go to my overhead. It will automatically populate with video inputs, overlay inputs, page, and if this is not default, this is from the show that I had already created. So it has my video sources 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my overlay sources 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It auto populates like that. I'm going to say configure. So you can see source 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, overlay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get that directly. You can see you can add a page with more content, go back to page 1. So you can cycle through those pages with the little arrows on the bottom. And over here on the right, all of these are the different things. So if you've programmed an Elgato Stream Deck, you kind of get the idea, like these are things you can pick. So if I wanted to do an overlay, there's all my overlays. Now, it comes default with these, but if I didn't want to have 5 video sources, I could just grab this 5th one, drag it over here to the right, and now it's trashed. Delete. What do I want there? Oh, I want to have my background music on. So here I'm going to take the play pause, and I'm going to put that on that button. Boom. So now I've got that as my 5th button in the upper right-hand corner to just play and pause my background music. That's pretty cool. It's just right there as a button. So whenever we want to go to commercial break, hit this button. Hey, we'll be back after this. Boom. So that's always available as a button. And then when I hit save, it updates. And now you can see that little blue button in the corner right here. I'm going to go to overhead. You can see that little blue button right here because that is what I just added. So that's how fast and easy it is to update this thing. If you wanted to change your transition, you can't. It's the transition method. I don't know how that's going to work. So let's click that. Let's drag that into here. Translation. It's interesting. It says translation, not transition. Okay. We're going to say save. Now it says cut on the bottom of my button here. Fade, wipe, directional wipe, window slice, simple zoom, cross zoom, squeeze, flip page, cube, cut. Boy, that's worse than just touching the transition selector in the main thing. I have to cycle through all of those. So that's not going to help me either. I'm going to take that, throw that away, delete it, and it's done. So you can see that you can go through these things. If I wanted to have more overlays, you could actually go to the next page, page 2, and do your overlays. You can put all your overlays over here. Overlay 1, overlay 2, 3, 4, 5, and then come over here, overlay 6, overlay 7, overlay 8, overlay 9, overlay 10. And now those are available on page 2. Save that on page 2. And now on my YOLO deck, I can go to page 2. You can see I've got all my 1, 2, I didn't do the rest, all the way out to 10. 10 does, there's not a 10th one, so it's just putting the 10 there. And then I can go back to this, switch my inputs, go to an overlay, go back to my inputs, and that's how you would switch between your pages with the little back and forth arrows. And that's, in general, how easy it is to program the YOLO deck to be up and running. I don't need, like with a StreamTek, you need a computer. And I know StreamTek just introduced an Ethernet power over Ethernet adapter that gives you one USB out that will talk to a single StreamTek so that you can glue it to the back and have what a lot of people just want in the first place is just embed something in here so that I can just connect it directly to the device that I'm switching. That doesn't exist yet. So you need a computer, some sort of compute device in between your network and your StreamTek. This one plugs in directly via USB. There's nothing in between it. It has to be physically connected. It's a USB cable. It's not Wi-Fi. It's not Bluetooth. It's not on the network. It's this talks to that via USB, and that's all it is. Can you hook up two? I haven't tried. Boom, boom, boom. Question came in. You know what they are missing in the Extreme? RTMP server, so you can directly send DJI drones Osmo feed directly via RTMP to the YOLO. That is. That's a great segue to our next topic, which is inputs, getting things into the YoloBox. And then, again, if you're familiar with the YoloBox, this is going to be very familiar because the Extreme is just continuing. It's just an evolution, mostly hardware advances in terms of what it can do and how many inputs it has. But for those who haven't seen or used a YoloBox, this is going to be save, export, exit. Yes, we're back over here. So now, on the bottom here, you can see I've got my video inputs that I added. Over here, you can see at the top, HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, USB 1, 2, 3. So 3 different USB potentialities. So that's 4, 4 is 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11 inputs right there wired. Plus video. Now, you're not limited to one video. You can load, as you saw, I just selected a bunch of videos, and they all came in. Images, you can do the same thing with images. I'm going to select images. I can select 1, 2, 3, that one, select a bunch of logos. I'm going to say done. Now, you're only going to see one image because in essence, I loaded a packet. And when I go to this one, now you can see at the bottom of this, I can cycle through these logos or these pages, these images. So if somebody gives you a bunch of images, oh, let's talk about my trip, it's going to load a packet. So you're not taking up all of the screen real estate over here on the left with all of those individual images. You load them as packets. If you want to load them separately, you come over here, you say add images, just that one, done. Now that, now you can load each one separately. And if I touch that one, it's just the one of one. This one is one of 5. That's the images. PDF, I don't think I have a PDF on here. Oh, I do. I have slides. Let's go here, done. So I have a StreamTek PDF, so you can see I talk about this one, I can talk about that one. Again, it's like images, but as opposed to random images, they're all collected into a PDF, 16 by 9 wide. They're collected into a PDF that I can, again, cycle through like that. Come over here, live stream. This is where it comes back into play. Live stream. It's going to connect to my YOLO account. And what I have is, I have a YoloBox Mini playing a soccer game. I called this live stream London. So if you were doing, let's just say, a New Year's thing and you wanted to go to different cities, you can have all of those different cities doing their own stream, and if it's on the same YOLO account, they will show up here. And I can select London, done, and London will come in to here. So let me show you this overhead. This is London streaming out Wi-Fi, because I've got nothing connected, it's just playing a video. This is power. I can even take that out. There's nothing. So this is playing, it's streaming, and here it is down here as a source. So I can select that as a source, this device that's on my account that's streaming in another city. As long as it goes through my account, it could be streaming to different destinations, it doesn't matter. But it's going through my account, so it's available when I go to that live video. And that is what I wanted to show you. So through YOLO, that's like another a little advantage, is this ecosystem, so that I could have 4 stages all streaming, you know, their own little streams, and then from a master control, hey, let's go to this stage, and you go to click on that one, here they are, okay, that's great, and then you come back to your, you know, local person talking, and then you'd have to delete that one because you can only load one of those at a time, and then come back into your live stream, and it would show all the different streams that are available, and then you could pick Chicago, you could pick Buenos Aires, you could pick, you know, wherever. So that's live stream. NDI. With this one, let me go directly. You can see 2 NDI FX. FX is what they're now calling full NDI, which is like 100 megabit per second NDI, usually coming from a computer. So if I pick FX, you can see I've got my Nook over there running vMix, and vMix is going to, let's do vMix output 1, done. So this is my Nook outputting program, and it's coming in here, full NDI. Now I can add this, I can say NDI, and it will come down here. It says 2 FX or 5 HX. It's not going to calculate for you, since I've already added one full NDI, how much is left. So this is one of those examples where you need to like test things. You need to understand what the limitations are, because it's not going to do it all for you. It does a lot for you, but it's not going to do it all for you. Wow, this is like the 3rd call. It never rings this much in my office. I apologize for that, but generally nobody calls when I'm doing a show. So you can see I've got a P100. I have a BirdDog P100 that has been upgraded. So where the BirdDog camera originally could do full NDI. That's the cam. And then with the Silicon 2 update to the software, I can actually output HX. I didn't lose it. It didn't change over. I'm doing both. So whereas the camera used to output 1 feed, now it's outputting 2 feeds. So I'm going to select the HX. Done. 2, 3, and here you can see, hello camera. That's the HX camera. It's coming in a little choppy. I'm going to take out the full NDI feed, see if that helps with the choppiness of this one. Nope, still a little choppy. I wonder if I take the NDI, if I take the full feed, if that would be better. Let's check it. Or if the camera itself is just working too hard now. So that's the HX2, NDI 1. It's not HX2. So here you can see the full NDI feed is doing much better. The full NDI feed is doing much better than the HX feed. So it's having a little trouble with the HX feed, whereas the full NDI feed coming off of that camera is doing just fine. So we're going to delete that, delete, and we're going to see if we've got another NDI feed that I can pull in here. I think I got one more. Oh, I know what I got. PTZ Optics. I've got a PTZ Optics camera right here. Wow. I apologize. I am going to put this on stun, and PTZ Optics is here, done. And now you can see, here's the show. I can tilt this, I'll just tilt it down manually. This is the show that I'm doing right in front of you. I got the iPad, I've got what I can see. Here's all your comments. Here's this, here's what I'm producing the show on. Here's my Instagram. So this camera is shooting everything, and it's coming in via HX. So the PTZ Optics has no problem with HX. It's just the BirdDog that I actually turned on yesterday. So it's been on for almost 24 hours. So maybe it's just getting a little hot. It does not have the RTMP. You are correct. So I've got this. Now it is a PTZ camera, and there is PTZ control. If you select this little icon, you get an pop-up options for the horizontal, flip vertical, rotate 90 degrees. I can do chroma keying, cropping. I can replicate, so I can take this one source and duplicate across. I can rename it as opposed to this. I can call, ooh. So let's go to the PTZ control. And this is where now I need to figure out what the network address is of the camera. I actually don't know what the network address is of the camera. And the thing that I don't understand, hopefully they can update this in a new version of the YoloBox, is that if you found the camera on the network, you should know what the IP address is. I should not have to find it manually and then type it in. So I'm going to try and find it manually and type it in. So if I bring up my little, I have an app called Thing, close, see devices, here it is. So if you go to overhead, you can see right here, I got PTZ optics 192, 168, 455. So we're going to go back to Pro, put it side by side. 192, thank you for the different view. 168, 4, what is it? 55. Done. Connecting. We're unable to connect your PTZ devices. Cancel. All right, so that's not working either. We're just swinging out here. What about the, what about that one? Let's try the bird dog. Since we already looked it up on the network. Mac Mini, Epson, FS100, P100 is 192, 168, 4, 38. Done. And that one connects. Okay. So this is the view from that camera way over there. And if I drag this down, I can control the camera. I can zoom in the camera. Because it is a true optical zoom 10x camera. So you can see low, fast. I can zoom this up a little bit, tilt this up a little bit. I look like I'm a little squished here. And then up here in the top right here, not very big. This is your preset positions. So that's P1. And then I could zoom out. I don't think you can, you can't just, you can't just drag it around. Like, it would be cool if you just like, let me just move it over here, move it over there, and just, you want to just touch it because we're all touchscreen, used to touch screens. So we can bring this down here. That's a good one. We're going to hit a preset. That's P2. So now technically, I should be able to hit P1. There's P1. And go to P2. Zoop. There's P2. There we go. Super cool. Now, the challenge with having presets on a device like this is, how do I get to them? So let's just say I've got the video playing. So now I have to go into here, I have to go to PTZ control. Okay, no, not that one, this one. Go in here, go to PTZ control. Yes, done. It's connecting to it. This is just much too long. I need to tell that camera to go to a preset. So the fact that it does have PTZ control, the implementation of it really, oh, I need the close-up. Okay, here's the close-up. Now, I can't do anything else in the show. I can't switch. I mean, if you had this, you could switch. But, come back out. Now, I can cut to that camera. Oh, it's just too hard. And I'm going to say right now, all of the all-in-ones kind of suffer the same problem. They don't give you the ability to just put those presets on buttons. They don't give you the ability on the interface. Like, it would be cool if I had like three little buttons across the top for preset 1, preset 2, preset 3. That way I could be in director mode and have a different feed, like this camera. So that one is in program, and then over here I could tell it, you know what, this one go to 2. It goes to 2, then I say go. And this one go to 3. It moves there, then I say go. Not having to dive into other screens would be so much more useful, but that's not where it is today. So if you're looking at these devices to be a robust solution for PTZ cameras, I can't say that this thing is going to deliver that for you today. Like I said, I'm going to give you pluses and minuses, and that's one of the minuses. Now, that said, you know, given that that is a bird dog camera over there, I could, for instance, I could switch cameras and use bird dog PTZ control. I was going to find devices. There's my P100, there's my Nook, there's my PTZ optics. So I'm going to grab the camera, and there is my camera, there's my feed. Is that cool or what? And then I go to my presets, and I can go to 2. I can go to 1. And this is another key advantage of NDI. That preset is not stored in this device. It's stored in the camera. So I can access that NDI camera from a laptop, a desktop, a tablet, an app, and then I can tell it, go to that preset. I can then say so that's 1, so go to 2, and then I can go to here. I can say zoom out even further, pan over this way, tilt down a little bit. I'm going to say that is, I don't know how to do it because I've never done it on here. Do I push and hold 3? Probably not. Nope, I don't know where it's going. Okay, go to 2. And we'll try that again. But this is just an example of that I can control that camera, or I can give control of that camera to someone else. And they can just sit there with a remote and do it. But doing it in the single device is not going to be device. So save 3. Maybe that's 3. And then I go back to 1. Oh, maybe I moved. Go back to 3. There you go. I figured it out. And then the other cool thing is I could change the exposure and do other things with this camera via this app. So that's one way to solve for it, but it would be nice if the presets were more easily addressable in the Extreme itself. It's not. Not yet. They can always update these things with software. Continue along. NDI, SRT. I don't use SRT because I'm not bringing in feeds from around the internet. There are a lot of people, not a lot, there's a good amount of people who are using SRT, this thing right down here, they're using SRT, Secure Reliable Transport, to bring in sources that are right there. One of the advantages is you don't have to pay for NDI. But you don't get automatic discovery. You don't get it, you know, there it is, I touch it, it comes in. You don't get PTZ control. You don't get tally going back to the camera. You don't get a bunch of things that are built into NDI, which is built for bringing video on the local area network. That's what NDI is all about. SRT is more designed to bring in a feed from Tokyo, which, as I showed, we can kind of do with the live stream if you have another YOLO device, but if you don't, somebody can send SRT. So you've got SRT and SRT listener, you got to go in here, you got to put in the URLs, and if you have to make sure that those, the networking between the two locations is open, and the ports, and that's things I don't get into. RTMP, you can bring in RTMP into it. RTSP, if you have a device that requires SP, and then web. Your web input is if you have some place doing graphics, you can pull that in. Or, you know, sports, there's sports services that are going to do scoreboards, and you can type in the URL of that scoreboard over there to bring in the scoreboard or the data, and that is really handy right there. The other thing, now that's like a web page. So I guess you could, I misspoke. Web is just to bring in a web page. So let's just say you wanted to bring in a web page that you're using for viewer questions. kind of like a bespoke area where people in the event can all go to this web page, type in a question, they can upvote questions, they can downvote questions. You can bring that web page in, and you could say StreamTek.us. Yes, done. And that's going to go to that web and bring that page in. Maybe. Or maybe not. Can I edit it? No. So we're going to try a different one. Web. Let's try IEBA dot. Done. No, still not bringing in my web pages. All right, continuing along, that is the end of the inputs. Now, multi-views are considered inputs, scenes, whether you want to call them pips, what do you call them over here? Super sources, you know, all these different things. You could do a side-by-side. One of the real advantages to the YoloBox is the simplicity of these multi-views. You've got customized, but even the simple ones are just so quick to set up. Let's just say I wanted to do a side-by-side between me and the top view. Oh wait, I got to do, let me bring me in. Let's do me, come in here, and I don't have a top view, so I'm just gonna do me and let's just say one of the videos that I'm gonna talk about. So I could do side-by-side, I'm gonna select that, I'm gonna do me and the video, done. There's me in the video over here. Now I have some settings over here in that I can adjust the spacing, so and then I can change the border thickness like this. I can throw a background behind it. If I don't like those backgrounds, I can go get a background like this one. Done. Now I've got that as a background, my border color. I can swap the video if I pick them in the wrong order. I swap them back. Done. That's how fast it is to make this scene. And I've seen other switchers where this takes longer than 10 seconds. You know, if I wanted to create another one of these, well, let's go back to classic mode. If I wanted to create another side-by-side, let's just do side-by-side with this and this. Done. Adjust it. Background. Done. That's how fast I just created two different side-by-side views. Different size over here. So this one's a little wider. This one's a little bit more narrow, but taller. And I've got different things over here. So this one's the slide presentation. So I can actually still go through and adjust the slides in that presentation. And one of the key things that YOLO has is the simplicity of building these multi-views in terms of all of these different things. News layouts, two views, split views, pip video. I've used pip video, so you go here. I want this and this. Done. Here's my pip over here. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to change the subscreen shape to a circle there. It's pretty cool. And then I'm going to change the border thick. Oh, it's white, so we can't see it. So I'm going to change the color. Done. There's the purple color. And then I could move that into the corner or wherever I want, just like this, by dragging it on the screen. And that way, when I say done, now that's in the program. And that's how fast it is to put together something like that in terms of a multi-view. That's one of YOLO's great strengths, is these multi-views are so easy to set up, so easy to configure. And they have been like that since the beginning. Next up over here, you've got titles. There's a built-in titler. So countdown timers, lower thirds, social media overlays. I don't even, oh, that's a missing image because the SD card's not here anymore. Lower thirds, you know, just making them on the fly. So when you go in here and you say add one, you know, you've got web URL overlays too. So you could type in a web URL overlay from, like I said, Fly Score, Singular Live, all these different places. If you have an account there, you can bring them in. That's what I was talking about before. And then YOLO your YOLO account includes YOLOcast overlays right now. So I've created some, like I have this ticker right here. So I'm going to select this ticker. I'm going to say done, done. And then when I select it, it's going to come up right there. It's a Tech Talk, it's got a logo, and it's playing this thing across the bottom. And that is coming from the web. It's coming from the YOLO included online cloud-based web graphics generator, which you can then have somebody in even another city accessing it, creating your graphics that you bring into your YoloBox. Let me turn that off. Next up, image overlays, lower thirds, which you saw a little bit of, countdown timers, full screen titles, which I don't have any up there, but you know, big titles like that. Then you can't just go back. Social media overlays, so there's a couple different examples. So you can go, you know, Facebook, you can have a picture in that, you know, you can have full screen, kind of like this little bars, more, you know, upscale. This one's cute like a button, still has a little Twitter icon, that's so cute. And then we have time overlays, so if you want to actually count time, there's there. And video overlays, this is actually pretty new, so you can take a video and make it an overlay, so that if you have, you know, graphics or sponsors or something like that, you can actually play a video as an overlay. Next up over here is comments. So this is where you can bring in comments from all of those APIs that you're using. If you are streaming via RTMP, you don't get comments back. But if you're using the Facebook or YouTube or Twitch API that is built into this, then that's what you can get back. So when you go to the streaming destinations, you can see you've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitch. Everything else is an RTMP. So these are the only three that you're going to pull comments back from. I would have loved to see this grow to include LinkedIn and other outlets, but it has been these three since the beginning. So with the comments, you can also customize these things. So you come up here to the corner, and then you've got like a couple different designs that you can pick from, and you can change, let's just say this one, you can change over here the fonts, you can change the colors, the density, the scale, you can move it around on the screen. So all of these titles are very customizable. And then also this one very nice feature that I like, which I wish Restream had, which is what I'm, you know, doing for this show. This auto hide is great because then this is up for 10 seconds and it goes away. And that's available, done, in most any of these titles. So if I come up here, you'll see that some of these have timers on them. So if I come up here and I say, I've got this, let me just go to this video here, and I bring up a title. This title is up, it fades in, and then this countdown goes right here, 2, 1, and then it fades out. You don't have, you just tap it on, hey, I'm talking, and then it fades out all by itself. Very, very handy. Fades on, fades off. It looks very polished, and all you had to do is touch something like that. Hey, this is me. I'm your StreamTek host, and I've got this show, and without even touching it, it goes away. That's very cool. This little icon right up here, not very understandable what this icon is, but if you click on this, that lets you change the size, so that if you've, depending upon how many you've got, the labeling doesn't change, the size of the icon changes. So if you've got a lot of stuff that you want to have one-touch access to, that's what you can do. And again, that's if you don't have the YOLO deck. The YOLO deck gives you access to the first 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the 10 titles. Everything after that you can't access with the YOLO deck because it doesn't go past 10. So you would have to do it here on this screen. And you can make that considerably smaller and fit a lot more on here. Or if you wanted, you could make them, you know, big. So that's what that little icon in the corner does. Next up, volumes. The audio mixer in the Ultra and the Extreme is vastly improved over the Pro and earlier models. First, you can see stereo meters. Very handy to know if a source is coming in left or right, because there's no mixer to be able to sum that to mono, so you're going to need to fix that somewhere else before you bring it in. But you can adjust the level of each of these, just like that. I drag this down, and then I can drag this up right there, You can see HDMI 8 is the camera. So it's bringing in the audio from the camera and it's going out the monitor and then the program. So the monitor is what you hear in the headphones. I don't need to hear it too loud in the headphones, but I do need it to be output. Or what I'm feeding it into is very sensitive, but I need to hear it louder in my headphones because it's a very loud environment. So I need loud in the headphones, but not so loud to the stream. Why you would want to turn off the stream, I don't know, but that's an option. You have audio follows video here so that you can turn on a source like HDMI 1, and then when you actually connected, when HDMI 1 goes into program, then this one will automatically be part of program. And then when it comes out, it's not part of program. So audio follows video will do that for you. There's a new feature called Videos Follows Audio, where if you have the audio coming from, or microphones plugged into each camera for each person, like my camera has my audio and the guest camera has their audio, you can actually have the YOLO switch the audio or switch the video to follow the audio. So once they start speaking, it notices the audio coming in this camera and will switch to this camera. Then when they stop talking and I start talking, it'll notice the audio coming in here and switch that. So that is a cool feature in terms of simplifying the process for people who are producers and also hosts. So there's a lot to keep track of. Next, we're going to touch on the record. So we talked about recording, but this is more. This is where you can do ISO records. So you can see right now my main record encoding settings is 4K 60 at 30 frames a second. If I start adding things, it's supposed to tell me storage is on the SD card. There we go, SD card, 4K 60, and it's going to let me do all those. I really don't think so. There we go. Here's your bitrate limit alert. Let me bring that off to the side. So you can see, can I do 4.3? Yeah. So 120 megabits per second. So if you're doing 4K 60, you know, you've got these data rates. So you've moved past what the limit is. Again, like I says, you can't just throw a faster, you know, throughput on here. This is not a computer where it's like, well, let me just stick in a faster NVMe. The SD card slot is limited to a certain write speed. The USB slot is limited to a certain write speed, and you have to make it fit within the limitations of the device that you've got going on here. So turn those off. Let's just say I want program and I want HDMI 8, which is my ISO camera, and then I can hit record. Now it's telling me encoding warning. Current CPU usage is 51%. It's about that. You can see it up there in the corner. Enabling this feature is estimated to increase by 32%, reaching 83. It's a warning. It's not saying you can't do it. It's saying you're going to be pushing it. So, and it gives you just some general, you know, guidelines. I'm going to say continue. Do you want to start the recording? Start. So you can see it warned me saying you're going to ask it to do a lot more. You're going to push the CPU up to 80%. Although there goes again, the 61. We'll see how high it goes. And it's up to you to make those decisions. It's your box, it's your show, it's your production. You make those judgment calls. And this goes back to what I've said many, many times is test, test, test. If you're going to be doing this many cameras and you want this many ISOs, set it all up a week ahead of time. Run it. Let it run for a couple hours. You know, point it outside at trees and leaves so the video's changing and stuff like that. And it actually has something to compress. Because if you're doing sports outside and you do a test inside pointed at a blank wall that doesn't change, the data rates are going to be vastly different. What the device is being asked to do is going to be vastly different. You need to test as closely to what you're actually going to be doing as possible to make sure that the test measures out to what the actual production is. So you can see I didn't get up to 80. I only got up to 60, 59. It's because the video that I'm asking it to compress is very simple. But based on averages, it gives you that warning. You see the recording is just going fine. So next we're going to continue down here. Oh, I can't reach it. Is auto switch. So it has built-in auto switch for you. So if you're doing crafts or if you're doing DJing or something like that and you want it to switch between me and the deck and the side view and some visual effects, or a shot of the room from behind, or just keep switching back and forth while I'm doing this, you can do that. So you click on the lower right arrow, you list up your video sources. Oh, you can't say it. There you go. I can say I want HDMI in these 3 videos. Yeah, I want all of those. So you can see them all there now. And then it gives you a time, how much time to spend on each one. That's, fine. Do you want it to loop? Yes, you want it to keep going. You don't just want to do once and stop. Keep going. Now you can go sequential. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And after a little while, it's going to look like a security camera thing. So you can actually do random. So just take them a little bit out of order. And then you can also, this is a really cool thing, main video source. I wanted to come back to this more often than anything else. So I'm going to say the main video source is HDMI 1. And then that shot, I want it to stay on a little longer. That's really cool. And then once you've got that set, you can then start it. And it's just going to it's going to auto switch. Again, each of these for 10 seconds, except for that one for longer. And I don't have to do anything. So there it's switching automatically. It's on HDMI. Oh, that is HDMI 1. It doesn't, where's my camera? Oh, my camera is, you know what? Let me stop that because I selected the wrong one. HDMI 8 is me. So the main video source is, HDMI 8 is not available here. Very interesting. I don't know why it's not. None. So curious. I don't know why HDMI 8, this camera, is not available. Video sources, 3 videos, HDMI 1, image 1, 2. So it's only picking from the first 6 things. So if I want my main camera to be available, which is this one, 8, I'm going to drag this. Oops. No. There we go. I'm going to drag this up to be here. So now that's number 4. And now if I come over here, video sources, let's exit this, come back in, still not there. Very interesting. I thought I had it. And here is the other thing that I was talking about. Video follows audio. And then once you set that, here's your switch sensitivity, hold time, threshold, and choose your audio source. I'm going to select HDMI 1. So when HDMI 1 happens, I want it to switch to HDMI 1. Oh, here I can select HDMI 8. That's good. And then when it's silent, I want it to go to HDMI 1. Oh no, 8. Reselect. So I can add more. Okay, 1, 8, NDI 2. Here we go. Yes. So now, wow, apparently I somehow selected all of them. Oh, okay, groups, 1 and 8, 1 and 2. So this is every permutation of those 3 things that I selected. So what you're doing here is if I have audio coming in this camera, then go to HDMI 1. If I have audio coming in 8, go to HDMI 8. If I have audio coming in 2, NDI 2, go to that one. If I have HDMI 1 and 8, you know, you might have a 2-shot. So if I have 2 people talking and they're both laughing or whatever, cut to a 2-shot, which is, you know, I'm just picking something else. And then these 2 might have a 2-shot. And these 2 might have a 2-shot. So that way, if you have audio coming in all 3, what do you want to do? Do nothing. Go to a PDF. I don't know. But that is an example of, so now it's going to be looking at the audio condition from these 3 sources, or these 2 sources at the same time, or these 2 sources, or these 2, or all 3 of these sources. All 3 of these sources. And doing that when it senses all of these things after, you know, hold it for 2 more seconds and then switch, you know, so it's not just constantly bouncing all over the place. Speech detection, that would be kind of cool. I haven't tested that. Switch sensitivity and your threshold. They have to be a certain loudness. So if it's just background noise at a conference, you want to bring this threshold up a little bit so that now that I'm talking, it knows that you've started talking. So that is going to do that auto switching for you right there. Some questions came in. I have a newbie question. I do an online podcast via StreamYard. Do I still need to use StreamYard, or can I do all of it through YoloBox Extreme? And how could I do that having 6 guests? You can do 5 guests through YoloBox. I don't know if the limit has increased on the Extreme, but on the Ultra it was 5 guests. Actually, from the Pro it was 5 guests, but it only became usable with the mix minus audio on the Ultra and the Extreme that made you doing online guests. If you are coming in through a hardwire connection, so you are not one of the 6 guests. If you only have 5 guests and you. See what I mean? So let's go to that. Here you can see I have down at the bottom here on the right, this go over here, down over here on the right, I have a limited number of things that was carried over from the show that I created. I only wanted access to these things. So this tools order, let's do this one. This tools order is where I chose what I look at and what I don't. And over here, I can drag them into the order I want. So my overlays and comments are the things I needed to see the most. And then maybe tweak my mixer settings. But these are the things I needed to make sure that I could access during the show. They are the first 2 things. I can change the order. I just, you know, drag this anywhere I want, and it will change down at the bottom over here. There's also a lot of other things. So let me bring up invite guests. Add that, bonding, background music, scoreboard, replay, encoding settings, and video source transitions. Turn them all on. So now, in order to see things, I have to like drag this bar back and forth. Let's go overhead. In order to get to all my things, I have to drag this back and forth, and I didn't want to have to do that during my live show last week, so I reduced what I didn't want to have to touch. You know, like if I'm going to use bonding, it's either on or off. I never have to access this during a show, so I don't know why it's a you know, an accessible pain. If I was going to do replay, this is where my replay settings are. If I was going to do cancel. If I was going to do recording save successfully, so the recording came up with an alert. If I wanted to change my recording settings, I'm not going to want to do that during the show, so I hide those things. Streaming destinations, once I start streaming, I'm not going to want to change that during the show. So I hide all that stuff. If I'm not doing auto switch or audio, videos follow audio, hide it. My record settings, I'm going to set it, forget it. But let us go to that remote guests thing. So you can invite guests. You can see it says up to 5 people here. Oh, let me bring that up here. It says up to 5 people. So you can put their email addresses in here, or you can send it to yourself via email. You can create write more of an email and then send it to them. Otherwise, they're connecting right here, and they connect directly into the YoloBox. I mean, technically into some cloud space, but it's your cloud space direct to this device. And this is included for now. And you don't have to pay any extra for the service. But 5 guests plus whatever you've got connected locally on the box itself. That's what you have. Cancel. And here's the bonding again. Remote guests, background music. So you can add some music here, done. And then now the background music is available so that if I had my background music button, there it is. Because remember, I programmed that into a button. So it's just going to start playing this track right here. And then I guess I could push this button again. And it stops. Or should it? Yeah, because it's down to play, pause, play. And this says play, and the button does not change state. So now while it says pause over there, it does not say pause here. So this still looks like I have to push play to make it play. So some updating is still necessary in the YoloBoxes to make everything reflect the proper thing all the way around. And then over there on the right, you can see you can loop things, skip ahead, skip back if you jump into that pane. So if you're using music a lot as part of your show, as part of what's going on, you're going to want to have this pane available. Next up, sports scoreboards. And if you're dealing with sports, you know, this is going to be one of your favorite things. You can change the size, you can move it around, put it at the top, put it at the bottom, put it over here, put it over there. And then, of course, what do you want the scoreboard to look like? You know, you've got all these different, you know, colors, names, and logos. So this is why I actually have the logo thing in here. So let me go edit the logo so we can choose a team logo. We'll choose that one, done. And then we'll come over here, we'll choose this, edit, that one, done. And now you can see my graphic there all of a sudden has logos in it, and I can change the colors. That team 1, you know, well, that should be yellow, of course, because the team is yellow. And the bottom one is red. Hey, look at that. It's already red. Yay. The game and all this other things. And then, of course, you have different types of scoreboards. And again, these are all built in to the YoloBox itself, and your YoloCast account gives you access to more in the cloud. And you can build something from scratch if you wanted to as well. All of that is very capable. So let's just say, oh wow, Federer and Anderson. Let's do that one. So now I've got this little square one, and you know, we could change the size of that. We can put that way up here in the corner. Now, while it's got this dotted line on it, you can't quite see that. Let me go full screen. While it's got this dotted, let me get the fingers right. And while it's got this dotted line, that means nobody can see it but you. That's not live. So then when you hit the little check mark, now that's what the audience sees. And I can't move it around anymore. I can't do anything, but you can change the scores. And that is a brief look at the scoreboard. Instant replay. Actually, let me go back into my titles. Yep. Scoreboard. Scoreboard display off. There we go. Replay. So you have instant replay in the device. You don't need an external device to do instant replay. We're going to turn it on. Actually, please set the sources. So I'm going to instant replay my HDMI 1, my NDI 1, and my HDMI 8. My replay settings are how much do I want to hold? 10 seconds? I usually find about 7 seconds is good, because after a goal, 2, 3, now I hit the replay button, it's going to go back 5 seconds before the goal, play through the goal, and give me a couple of seconds after the goal. Done. Replay video speed. I don't like replays at speed. I like them a little bit slower, 7.5. Maybe you like it at 0.5 or 0.75. Replay audio. if I'm slowing it down, I don't need slow motion audio, so I turn that off. Maybe you want it on. Replay encoding settings. Now, I don't think I'm going to do, because that's the streaming. When we set that before down here, my recording is also my replay, which makes sense because if I have a 4K camera coming in and I want to record the show at 4K, any replay I do, I also want to be 4K. I don't want to jump it to HD for the replay and then back to 4K for the show. So that makes sense. And since I'm recording, you can see the little record buttons over there. I can't, you see the little record buttons over here. Since I'm actually actively recording, I can't change these things. It says that you can't change it while you're recording. You can't just like go and muck around with it. So going back to the replay, and then you also have mute other audio during the replay. Let's do this one. Mute other audio during the replay. I actually don't want to mute the other audio. I want to still hear the announcers. So I'm going to leave this off. Replay mode. Always play now, use later, or always ask. So me personally, I know people want to save all the replays and then use them later, perhaps for like an end of show recap and things like that. But then I would also want to use it like when I hit replay, I want to see the replay now. I don't want to wait. You know, it's like the goal's done. They're walking back to whatever. I want to see that happen again. So I'm going to say always play now. Replay logo. You can put a logo on the screen that says replay. Maybe it's branded with a sponsor or something like that. So that's where you can, you know, do that. Yeah, that's probably a little too big, but there you go. That lets you know it's a replay. Done. And then preset intro outro. So this is where you can have a stinger. I really don't have a stinger. I exited my replay. Where'd my replay go? So I've got my logo pass, which is 3 seconds, as my intro, and then you can have something as an outro as well. Come out here. And then fade for intro and outro. I don't want to fade. I just want to just go to it. And then come back out of the settings. Now I can turn replay on. It's going to let me know I got a bitrate alert. Okay. Oh, so it won't let me do it. Again, because I've got the 4K selected. There's just too much going on at 4K for it to be able to do what I'm doing. And that's one of the nice things is that you have a limit. And rather than you suffer from things not working and getting frustrated, it's telling you ahead of time, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. Sorry. And I think that's a better idea because it's like 3 of these replays at 4K, that's probably a little bit too much. So let me turn off HDMI 1, let me turn off NDI, and just to keep that one. And let's see if I can do it with just the one. There we go. So I can do a replay with just the one HDMI 8 source. And that is going to, it's actually running right now. You can't see it, but it's caching that video, 10 seconds of it right now. And I can go replay. Here's my little replay. That's the stinger. And it cuts to the replay. And then at the end, that's going to cut out. Doesn't look like it's slow motion, but whatever. And that's the end. So that's the instant replay that's built into this, which I find is going to satisfy the needs of like 95% of people who would love to have instant replay for most sports. That's going to be really handy. But like I says, you can also do, you know, your outro, you can save them and play them later when you have a commercial break or something like that. That's also available as an option. Then over here, like we said, this is the recording settings, and then this is your transition settings, all the different transitions that are available. Almost none of which you will use except for fade and cut, because nobody's really going to use directional wipe, translation, window slice. Nobody's going to be used in that. You know, I don't know why you would, but it's there. 99% of everything on video is cuts. And then sometimes you have fades. And if you're watching Star Wars, sometimes there's a wipe. And that is all of the little icons along the bottom here. So that kind of brings us to a close in terms of all the different things the Extreme can do. I didn't get into wireless networking. I didn't get into other things that are related to, but not specifically Extreme itself. I wanted to focus today just on the Extreme. One thing I didn't really cover is the fact that it has 2 HDMI outputs. And I have a second cable here. I have a second cable. So I touched on it, but you have 2 physical outputs, and you can have 2 different things going on out of those 2 outputs. So this view is my overhead view. I can show you the screen view. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back into my gear. I'm going to go into my HDMI outs. And then instead of mirror out, oh, I hope you're not getting audio back through this. You know what? Nobody said anything. I am just going to do that one thing I said nobody's going to do is turn my output audio off, just in case it's outputting audio back into the show. I don't want to do that. Shouldn't be, but just being sure. I can come back into my settings here, and like I says, I could have program like that, and then out of HDMI 2, there it is, program. So this is the output of the box, and I can bring on those titles. There's the title. So what you see in that box is what the program would be. And I could bring on this title, and 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 that title. I'm just throwing out a bunch of titles. And it's still, I mean, yeah, this thing's a little chunky, but I think that's because it's coming across the web. But the rest of them are all playing. And let's go over to the scoreboard, put the scoreboard on, check. So now we got the scoreboard right there, and I've got all of these going at the same time, and that's one of the reasons and it's still doing 4K. It's still doing the replay. So hey, you know what, where's my replay? I can come up here and say, so I'm going to go like this, and this was a really big goal. 2, 3. Please. Oh, and I turned the replay off. Let's go my replay, turn my replay on again. All right, so let me do it again. So this is a really big goal. Yes. 2, 3. And that's the replay. So it's not showing you the graphics. It's not including the graphics that were on the screen when these are all being put on top of the program, main program, not the replay. And it puts the replay graphic right up here. So that is something to understand as well. Replay settings. It does not show a way to keep your graphics, but I guess that's probably good. And then we can also go back to, so I've got these 2 outputs, and if I wanted to do multi-view, I can change this one to HDMI out, to multi-view. So now that I've been adding a bunch of things, you can see the advantage of multi-view is I get to see all of these things just there. And I could just be looking at that with my little StreamTek, and somebody could be punching the show, this one, that one, this one, that one. That's all they're doing is they're switching inputs. And then a second person is in front of the Extreme itself, and they're doing titles and viewer comments and adjusting the audio and things like that. So you've got all that going on. Uh-oh. I've hit 86%. Got it. Probably because I still have the replay on. No, I turned the replay off. So I'm going to stop recording here. Done. I am going to turn off some of the graphics. And my scoreboard is still on. So that is a lot that's going on. How can you use a camera that doesn't have audio? For example, a tail 2 for video follows audio. Because the selection of where the audio comes from, or you're selecting a source. So technically, that source could be a different camera. You'd almost need like a dummy camera. And then you'd say, go to, let's go back into that. I'll show you. That was, where is that? Here. So then you need to see the screen. Let's come back out here, HDMI out. You're going to see mirror out. There we go. Start video follows audio. No, wait, don't start it yet. So the audio condition, so you're going to have audio come in an NDI source that's a cell phone. But when that happens, switch to your tail air. You just need to have those sources be separate. So the tail 2 that is your camera does not have to be your audio source, but you do need a separate device to be that audio source. You cannot feed the audio coming in line input from 7 microphones, because then it's always on. It's one thing, it's always on. You have to separate those sources for the audio. Now, they don't have to be the same thing. That's the point here. The HDMI 1, when the audio comes in, HDMI 1, whatever it is, then I'm going to switch to my NDI camera. So you see, the audio is causing the effect that I want, but the audio is not coming from my NDI camera, which could be the tail 2. Thanks for the question. Regarding intro and outro videos, on StreamYard, it does it automatically once you start the streaming, and outro goes automatically as soon as you press end streaming. Do we have this option here? Not automatically, no, but like I do with this show, I have things programmed and I could just say, oh, okay, my intro and outro videos. I go to that video and that's what's playing. And then I stop stream. That's just part of the show as opposed to something attached around your show. Could do with the ability to keep the overlays on the replays if the user wanted them. Yeah, I was thinking that too. But then again, if you've got sports and you've got graphics overlays and stuff like that, and you want to focus on the actual event that happened, I can definitely see people being annoyed that it's still covered with graphics and stuff, and I just want to see the replay. And again, it's only for 7-10 seconds or whatever. So I kind of see this. I agree with the choice. Making it a choice for the user, I can see that as well. But remember, I'm telling it what cameras to ISO. So it's ISOing those cameras before they go through program. I'm not doing replay of program. That's how replay works on the Pro and the Mini. When you say replay, it's only doing replay of program. So it has those overlays on there. So this has been 2 hours and we still have a really good audience. So I want to thank everybody for being there today. This has been a pretty substantive walkthrough of the Extreme, which is the most extreme all-in-one production tablet that's out there at the moment. Current list price in the US is about $2,000, and it includes the NDI for now. We'll see how tariffs may affect things. And the fact that you get 8 physical inputs, as well as NDI, as well as remote callers and networked video sources. That is pretty extreme. The fact that you're able to do 4K from camera through replay, through recording to streaming, that's pretty extreme. You still have all of the YoloBox goodness in terms of ease of use, customizability, multicasting, and the YOLO account that gives you additional things in the cloud that just are just icing on the cake. Again, they're not paying me to say this. I am saying this as a user of the device and having just used it last week for a show to take advantage of those things that it does. I could have chosen a Blackmagic switcher. I could have chosen a vMix. I could have chosen a TriCaster. I could have chosen a lot of things, but I chose to use the Ultra because with this, I had my multiple video outputs so that we could see it and my assistant producer could see it. I could hand him the switcher, so I could add things if, you know, I wanted to switch to something now, I could do it. But if I'm focused on the conversation, he's switching it too. So we had two people switching the show, two people looking at the show, the guests could see the show, and that was all built in. I didn't need extra stuff. And I was able to record it and able to stream it to multiple destinations over a limited amount of bandwidth that was available at the convention hall because of the multicasting capability, which was one of the unique features that I chose to take advantage of. And I was using NDI for multiple sources. I actually had my wide camera was a USB-C camera from OBSBot. It was the tiny. That was my wide shot, and it looked great, and it was powered by the YoloBox. So, you know, got to give that a shout out too. And then we had multiple NDI cameras coming into this device, and all in all, it gave me the flexibility that I was looking for. Is it the best tool? The best tool is the one that meets your particular needs for your situation. If you're going to go with a GoPro, but you want to carry some live streaming capability, I might recommend the Mini because it's a lot smaller and a lot lighter. You know, if you're going to put this on top of a camera on the sideline at your son's soccer game, the Mini is probably a much better choice than the Extreme. If you're going to need to hook 6 cameras, you're going to kind of need the Extreme. Although I have connected, I think it was 10 or 15 inputs into the Ultra and 10 inputs into a Director Mini, you can get a lot of inputs into these devices. But again, start with what your needs are. Start with those particular things that you can't do without, and you make a list. This, it has to be able to do this, and I need this, and this is really important. This would be good to have, but I could probably work around it. And these two are okay, but you know, they're kind of like gimmies, extra icing on the cake. And you work down that list, and then you find the thing that does those things in order. I appreciate your live stream. I learned a lot. Thank you very much. This was great. Well, thank you very much for being there. PVE says, I initially creating a lower thirst while your YoloBox also using Apple's Keynote. I'm happy with the results. Is there a way to get the CG lower third into the YoloBox? Is Keynote a good choice? Well, I mean, you can use Keynote and then do NDI share into. You could export them if they don't have to be created live. You could use an online solution that puts it on the web, and you're both, since you got the access to the internet there anyway, you know, then Keynote, or not Keynote, but you're accessing Google Sheets or something, and this is also accessing Google Sheets. So as you're making changes, it's automatically populating in the YoloBox. There's lots of different ways, you know. Is Keynote a good choice? I would not use Keynote as a graphics generator, but you know, if that's what you like, and if that's what you're very good at, and it's delivering what you want it to deliver, then yes, Keynote is a good choice for you. As always, if you are new to the channel, please look us up on YouTube, StreamTek, Stream Technology. Subscribe to the page, find a video you like, and share it, because that does me a whole lot of good in terms of introducing this content to people who don't know about StreamTek, and just helping to grow the channel does me a great solid. If you like what I delivered here today, help me out and share it. Also, if you want more information about streaming media, you can sign up at streamingmedia.com. I've been a writer, contributor there for 15 years, so lots of really good content there. And should you ever need to reach out for consulting or in-depth conversation like that, you can reach me at the Contact Us page at streamtek.us. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is, oh wait, I got a title for that. My name is Anthony Barocas. I am the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. Yes, I actually have a title on that right here. This is actually one of the videos on the channel where you can put that up. And thank you all for being here, and thanks for watching.